Welcome into Sports Around the Bar, your favorite sports talk show, I'm sure. As always, I am Jakey Bartender, and I'm joined on center stool by Drew, my co-host. And today, we've got a lot of action, a lot of odd stuff to talk about. So if there's been some burning question on your mind that you've been waiting to talk about, we've been in that NFL grind, talking about a lot of the action going on, a lot of the game. Feel free. Today's your day, man. If you want to talk baseball, we're going to get to that. We're going to talk about trades coming up before the NFL trade deadline, how likely guys are to be dealt, whether we see a blockbuster trade or whether another year goes by where things stay a little tight. I don't know. Things have loosened up a little bit, Drew. You know, people have been a little more willing to trade here in recent years. Maybe we see another blockbuster or two this season. We'll talk about guys that should get traded, might get traded, should they not be traded? Are we ridiculous for thinking that? We'll talk about all that, as well as maybe a little bit of LeBron, even though I'm sure you're probably tired of hearing about that. Let's start, though, with talking about the Steelers and the Chargers, Drew, because I'm pretty sure it was me, if I'm not mistaken, that said there's no way the Chargers lose to a third-string quarterback. And let me just say, I'm also the guy that's the Chargers are fool's gold, but they're not even gold anymore. They're just crap. It's fool's shit, Drew, honestly. They look terrible. I have no other way to say it.
James, what's up, man? James, how's it going? Steven, always with the crap talk. He says donkeys.
The Chargers
is upset, calling it now. Man, do you remember what happened when we beat you? Anyways, Ian, what's going on?
I don't know, man. Hold on. Their stat total just went way up because they played the Titans. I think they're a good defense now.
Oh, is that what it is now?
I think so. I mean, they had 5 sacks for an entire season before they played the Titans. Had 7 in that game. So, vast improvement. That's all I can say. The defense is real out there in Denver. It has nothing to do with the Titans just sucking.
And what's going on? He says, we all know Detroit won and those Steelers. We'll get to that, man. I promise.
We will. And as you can see in the titles, Detroit definitely got screwed, but they kind of screwed themselves. We'll talk about that in a minute. First, let's talk about the Steelers and Chargers. Because
I got like 40 comments. Do you want to get these comments?
Yeah, let's do comments first. Tuesday is comment day, Drew. Of course we're going to hit all the comments.
Cody says, how about Peterson going to Baltimore? I know we're going to get to it, but do you have just a quick glimpse of what you feel like before we move forward?
Is he trying to say Peters going to Baltimore?
Yes.
Or,
yeah.
I was going to say,
Peterson,
as for Adrian Peterson, do they need another running back in Baltimore? I'm pretty sure they got that handled.
I'm sure he meant Peters. I just read the comment.
We are going to talk about that as well. He's kind of in that scenario where we're talking about him in the trade section. But just real quick, I think when you are ranked 25th, like Baltimore is in the passing game, bringing in any kind of cornerback helps. Giving up a younger prospect that hasn't really graded out too well to this point is definitely an acceptable price to pay, especially when you think about what they gave up to get him. I think a 5th rounder and, like I said, a prospect linebacker to bring in a guy like Marcus Peters that might help you, might make a couple of those plays that, because you have the best offense in the game right now, can turn a game around for you. I'm good with this move from the Baltimore perspective. A little bit of a head scratcher for the Rams. Is it them giving up? I don't know. I also think it could just be them saying he's a free agent at the end of the year and we're not going to have the money to pay him. Might as well get something out of him.
Was that real quick? Because I felt like
that was not real quick. I never do anything real quick.
James wants to know, who do we all think that will win the World Series?
I've been on the Astros train forever.
My Yankees, man. I know they're down right now, but it's okay. They're going to pull it out.
Is that game over yet? I know it was top of the 9th and we were talking about it. Oh. Well, that's why they traded him. Breaking news. We were going to talk about him in a minute. Jalen Ramsey, who you just told me before the show is not going anywhere, traded to the Rams for first-round picks in 2020, 2021, and 4th-round pick in 2021. 3 picks. Jacksonville got their sucker to pay him 2 first-round picks for a cornerback. I mean, Jalen Ramsey's great. Jalen Ramsey's young. Jalen Ramsey's likely to be expensive. I'm not sure how they plan to pay for this, but good for the Rams, I guess. I guess the Peters trade makes a lot more sense now.
Steve was just telling us that Jalen Ramsey's the Rams, so he was already about it. He says it's happening. Jalen Ramsey has been traded to LA, and he just...
Does that mean the Rams aren't giving up? Because
Steven said, thank you, Steelers. Who said it was going to be this year? Who said it was going into this year about the Chargers? Same old crap, different year. He's just calling...
Not me. I've been the guy since last year.
Same way you are.
Absolutely, and you know exactly what you're talking about. James wants to know, will the Astros beat the Yankees? I think so, James. I think the pitching is going to overwhelm the Yankees. Usually pitching pays off in the playoffs. Bats are great in the regular season, and then you usually need starting pitching to win the day with a reliever or two. I think the Astros have that. I think the Astros, when you look at Garrett Cole and Verlander, and now they brought in, what's his name, from Arizona, Greinke.
Yeah.
They have studs, 3 legit guys that you'd love to have as your first pitcher. they're just so deep. I got to go Astros here. They got bats with it too. They got Altuve and Correa. They just have a ton of guys on that Houston team. I think they're the team to beat, especially with the Dodgers losing. I predicted those two matching up with each other a while ago. I still like the Astros. As for the NL, I think when you look at the way the Nationals are playing, it's pretty hard to pick against them.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys' comments are overwhelming. Thank you so much again. Will says, yes, the Astros will beat the Yankees. Guys, no, they won't. The Yankees are going to win this. Steven says, every team playing the Chargers gave a home field game, or a home game. LA is home to the Raiders, not the Chargers or the Rams even. I think the 49ers might have a lot to say about that. I know there's a lot of 49ers in LA too. A lot of fans.
I think both of those fan bases are considerably bigger than the ones we see in LA. Plus, if you're a Chargers fan and they just moved them out of the city to take them 3 hours up the road so they can have two in LA, how much do you really want to support them? I kind of worry that might happen a little bit with Oakland. We haven't seen that backlash yet, and I know Raiders fans are absolutely wild for the Raiders. But when they move to Vegas 2 years out, is that following still going to be just as kind of dominant as it's been, or do we see them kind of migrate off to some of these other California teams?
No, I think all the hardcore fans will stay right where it is. It's the up-and-coming fans that haven't yet to choose a team is where you're going to find those. Chris says he is at the Nationals game but is still watching Sports Around the Bar. Chris, you are a true fan. Thank you so much for listening to us while the game
And how about the Nats? Addition by subtraction, man. They get rid of Bryce Harper. They want him to stay. He decides to leave. How about that for the big old middle finger saying, we can do it without you, buddy. Honestly, if they win the World Series and Bryce Harper left, is this going to be like one of the best 30 for 30s you'll ever watch? I think so.
Yeah,
I think it'll be fun.
It's a good possibility. Bo, what's going on, man? He says Trent Williams to the Browns, and Steven says 3 picks for a corner. That's insane.
2 first-round picks to the corners, no less. I mean, absolutely wild, man.
Vinny, good to see you. He says when it comes to professional sports, he's Pittsburgh all the way.
What a win. And I know Ian is also a Pittsburgh fan, and far be it from me from doubting Devlin from getting the job done, right?
Yeah.
One of the best performances I've seen so far out of a third-string quarterback. I mean, is it kind of an indictment on Phillip Rivers? Are they just taking it too easy when you have a third-stringer come out and put up 21 points? Like I said, Drew, I got home from Sunday's show, and it was 21-0. And I was like, what did I miss? I had to go back and watch it all on TiVo, man. It was...
You missed a lot.
I know.
Steve is saying Astros and Nats in the World Series. Steve, no, I hope not.
I think you're right, though.
Why is O.J. Howard on the trade talk but not Cameron Brate? This makes no sense to him. Because Cameron Brate is a better tight end than O.J. Howard is. Yeah, he's younger, but talent overlaps age every time.
You're getting a better blocker in Howard. You're definitely getting a one-dimensional tight end in Cameron Brate, who's basically more of a receiver than anything. He's just a tall, big receiver. But again, Cameron Brate's been a guy that's kind of lasted the test of time. We've never seen O.J. Howard really have that breakout season.
I completely disagree with that. I think Cameron Brate is all around better than O.J. Howard.
I think I'd take Howard for block. Like if it's 4th and 1, I think I want Howard's big body out there over Brate. But
you don't need tight ends.
Neither one is great.
More. You sit there and you put another.
You do on 4th and 1 when you put 3 of them out there.
You put a 4 tackle out there. That's how you do that.
I would take Cameron Brate over O.J. Howard as well. There's a reason you don't take tight ends in the first round is because nobody knows how good these guys are going to be. Like you better be pretty sure about it. Guys like Brandon Pettigrew have been, in and out of the NFL. I mean, Eric Ebron was a first-round tight end, and yes, he looked better in Indianapolis than he did in Detroit, but how easy is it to miss on one of these guys because it's so hard to develop? I mean, you never see, it's almost, I think Evan Ingram's like the best example, or the best counter to this. It's almost impossible for a guy to go into college and just dominate tight end in the NFL. It's usually 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road where the guy finally catches on, and usually those guys are late-round picks.
Yeah. Michael Davis, good to see you. Jeff, good to see you too. They're both letting us know that Jalen Ramsey is going to the Rams. Before I move on, I want to talk about this real quickly because I want to get to Steve's comment is, does Jalen Ramsey change anything for the Rams in this year at 2-4? Isn't that what they are, 2-4? I mean,
I think they're 3-3. Are they not 3-3?
I'll
tell you in a second.
Either way, I mean, they're struggling right now. And
they are 3-3.
Okay, they're 3-3. They're struggling right now, and the only thing I can think of is they need to change their offensive line. Yeah, their secondary doesn't look that good, but their offensive line is obviously the issue right now. Even though their defense is struggling, maybe it's because their defense is on the field quite a bit. They haven't been able to run the ball that well.
If you think about it, 2 first-round picks sounds like a lot. But if you're going to be a good team, and those are picks, 30, 31, 32, or maybe 28, you're basically giving up a second-round pick at that point. If they think Jalen Ramsey's the guy who puts them over the top, I can kind of see this because you're getting a 24-year-old corner that's dominant.
Great. Yeah, he's great. I'm not ignoring that, but
2 first-round picks is still a lot, man. It's hard. It's hard to justify more than 1 first-rounder for any player that doesn't play quarterback.
We're gonna move on here. Steve says AJ Green or Mohamed Sanu both linked to Buffalo for potential trades. What are our thoughts?
AJ Green seems more likely, even though the Bengals have come out and denied it. I think maybe a second or a third-round pick might change their mind. I wouldn't give up too much for a 31-year-old that's been hurt the past 3 seasons, significantly hurt the past few seasons with AJ Green. But if Buffalo could land another wide receiver to try to see if Josh Allen can become a passer, I think AJ Green's the way to go. I don't hate Mohamed Sanu as a player. I think he's a decent player, but I also, and he'll probably be the cheaper addition than a guy with a big name like AJ Green. But I also don't think that Mohamed Sanu necessarily makes you that much better of a team. I mean, remember, we saw him in Cincinnati, not exactly light the world on fire. He goes and plays with Matt Ryan, and he's a good receiver. But he's not like a game changer. You're not a better team because Mohamed Sanu is there. Or you're a better team, but you're not winning games because you have Sanu that you would have lost beforehand, I think, anyway. I don't know. Maybe you can disagree with me. I think he's just a solid player versus AJ Green, who has that higher ceiling where AJ Green can still maybe take over a game for you.
Ken, he says Ramsey to the Rams, shake his head. He's not understanding the trade or what was worth Ramsey, I guess. Maybe, Ken, let us know what you really felt there when you're shaking your head. Steven says, of course, always on the Raiders train, he says, I kept up with how our fans have taken this. Our fans are called Raider Nation for a reason. We are everywhere. We can move to Tokyo, Japan, and still be just fine with our fans.
We are Legion, huh? I mean, Vegas isn't that far away from Oakland, right? What is it, like 4 hours? 4.5? I don't know. I failed geography, if you can't tell.
I'm just so glad that there's one less team out of California. That's what matters.
I am too, and I think Vegas is going to be a great destination. Like, how fun of a road game is that for everyone who gets to go there every year? I mean, you're a Chiefs fan. You're the one who benefits. If you want, you can go out to Vegas every year to go see the Raiders play. You get to spend some time out there in the casinos. I think it's a great destination. I know the NFL's been scared of gambling and everything else. I hate it for Oakland fans. Losing a team always sucks, but let's face it, San Fran's just across the bay. When you're talking about spacing in California, and yes, I know LA has 2 of them. When you talk about spacing in California, they're pretty much throwing these teams right on top of each other. I think moving a team out to Nevada is the better play here, and it gets another state involved. And like you said, if the Raiders fans stick around, the NFL wins.
Yeah, no doubt. Jeff, good to see you, man. He said the Lions got screwed, and he's cussing. Tyler, good to see you, man. We're glad you're back. And Will says, amen to that. He did not like the fact that the Lions got screwed, I guess.
Absolutely. Steven also says Jalen isn't even that great. He's top 10, maybe top 5 cornerback in the league, but definitely not the top in the league, that's for sure. He's also had a bad couple years. 3 years ago, when he first came out, not his rookie year, but his second year in the league, he looked like he was the best corner in the league, and then if you look, he's kind of had a decent year last year, but not the same, and then this year he's been absolutely atrocious. I think part of it, too, is just he's gotten frustrated with the organization. Maybe he's not putting in the effort. I still think he has the ability to be, and if you're picking up a top 5 corner, if you're picking up a fringe top 5 corner for a defense that's 24 years old, those guys are never available. When you hit on them, you lock them up long term. So to bring him in, it was expensive, I know, but to bring in a guy like that versus spending those picks on corners that you have, what, a 50-50 chance on actually landing one? What are you out? The devil you know almost is the argument here, and does that make it a good deal for the Rams? No, but if they think they can win a Super Bowl with this offense and then get it fixed, and you bring in a defensive piece like Jalen Ramsey, he's a lot better than Marcus Peters, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, obviously they believe in their scouting department. They believe that the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, those picks will be players for their teams. Cameron says Ramsey to the Rams, the first 2 first-rounders and a 4th rounder is way too high of a price.
Yeah, well, it's too high.
But that was the asking price, and some team was willing to do it. Vinny, we know you love him. He said Steelers, Penguins, Patriots for dear life. Austin, good to see you, man. He says Rams have issues on offense more than defense. He's right on board with me. That's exactly what I said. I think there's more issues on the offensive line than there is defense. But I don't hate this.
I think you fix the offensive line, things go back to normal. Jared Goff is kind of like, in my opinion, Kirk Cousins, that you just got to protect him. You got to keep him safe. Put him in bubble wrap and let him do his thing.
Tyler, no, I do not want to see Marcus Peters back in Kansas City. We'll move on without him. Steven says, I don't think
give up enough
changes
catches.
A damn thing for the Rams. Now they brought
I think it helps.
diva corner into the locker room. Steven, I disagree, man. I think if it was the opposite and it was the Raiders that traded for this guy, you'd be ecstatic. You'd be excited. I think it's
a mentality thing, right?
It is. I honestly think it is, too. Yeah.
If they can get Jalen Ramsey right and you have Wade Phillips at defensive coordinator, you have an offense that's been good. If you can get him fired up and motivated, he can 100% be a leader on this defense. Especially when you're talking about them signing a ton of old veteran free agents. It's nice to inject a little bit of youth into a defense like that can bring a little bit of fire. So you still have your experience, and you still have the guy who can motivate everybody. I think, again, I like the addition. I just don't like the price. I don't like giving up 2 first-round picks for anything, unless you're getting Russell Wilson and you throw that 3rd first round in there.
Ian says it put a fee on more butts in the seats for the Rams. Not much of a change on the field. Dude,
it's got to help on the field.
I disagree.
I know he's had a bad year to this point, but it's got to help.
Marcus Peters' best years were behind him, and I know he's young, but he's not Jalen Ramsey. Eddie says Marcus Peters went to Baltimore. Eddie, good to see you. He's absolutely right. Cameron says, agreed. Sanu is basically the same caliber as wide receiver as the Bills already have. So he's right on board with what you were saying.
He can help, and maybe he's a little bit better than someone like John Brown, who is still a good player. You're getting like a possession guy in Sanu. You're getting a little bit more dynamic player in John Brown, and then a slot guy in Cole Beasley. Maybe it kind of like completes the trifecta and makes Buffalo a legitimate receiving threat. But none of those guys are world beaters. I think Josh Allen still probably needs better, and I'm thinking about upgrading if I'm Buffalo with my young quarterback that I need to figure out if he's a good thrower or not. We need to lay this to rest that he's just a running quarterback.
I'm actually, if Sanu happens in Baltimore, I think it's an upgrade all the way around.
In Buffalo?
That's what I meant.
Right.
In Buffalo. It's all the way around a better option for them. He is a better chain mover than any of the other options he has. Brown is more of a over-the-top receiver. They need that guy that can kind of move that chain, get those first downs. Sanu would be perfect in that scenario. He gets so overshadowed because of Julio Jones and now Calvin Ridley. It would be a great addition. Like you said, he's not a world beater,
right,
but he is definitely an improvement over that. JP, good to see you, man. He said Ramsey to the Rams, a 20 and 21 first round and 21 fourth round. Everyone's all about this trade. This is the blockbuster trade that you just talked about.
I hate to see it for a division rival. Adding 2 first-round picks sucks. But if you think about it, the number of first-round picks does not change in the AFC South because Houston gave 2 of them away for Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills. So Jacksonville might be formidable going forward, especially if Gardner Minshew turns out to be better than Peyton Manning, like you're predicting.
Yeah, totally. Cameron says, look at what the Knights are doing in Vegas. The Raiders' attendance should skyrocket.
I was actually going to couple these comments. Let me read what Ian says here. He says Vegas might get baseball in the A's. The moral of the story is Oakland needs to pony up some dough and rebuild the crumbling infrastructure they have in their stadiums. I mean, the Athletics have complained about it forever. Oakland complained about it forever, and now they're moving because of it. It's time for Oakland to step up. Go ahead, and I'm going to let you respond to John's comment about the Knights in Vegas, and then I'll do it.
No, all I was going to say is I love the hockey talk. That's great to add it in there. And to me, it's anytime you put anything in Vegas, regardless if it's a professional sports or a new strip club, you're going to see a huge attendance go to it.
We've seen a trend if you look at these. Again, hockey did a good job of loosening their rules for the expansion to make sure great players wound up on that Vegas team. It's why they went to the Stanley Cup in their first season, and it's why they're a threat now. I think if you look at what the Rams have done and kind of got favored a little bit, whether you want to put the tinfoil hat on and say that the NFL wanted them to beat the Saints in the NFC Championship so they can move on or not, I think when you look at teams moving, sports have kind of benefited those teams in the short term. I think, again, the NFL, we might start seeing some calls go towards the silver and black, if they stay silver and black, when they move out to Vegas, because the NFL is trying to build a fan base.
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
The easiest way to build a fan base, kind of like the Knights did, let the team win. Get them good players and let them win.
Justin, Luke, good to see you. I want to get to Tyler's comment. He said it would have been nice to see Ramsey at Kansas City, though it would have helped on the back end. Tyler, you know I'm a Chiefs fan. You know I'm avid and I'm constantly watching every game in and out, regardless if they win or lose. I think we know the answer to this, man. We need to run the rock. The defense needs to rest. I think our corners are okay to be able to stop some of this. They're not going to be elite. They're not going to be the top 5 defense, but in the middle would be great. You see Breland and you see these guys kind of holding a lot. It's because they're exhausted. We go out there and we do a 3 and out because Mahomes is hurt, man. These guys need a rest. Would have Jalen Ramsey been great? Absolutely. Anytime you add a top receiver in the league or a corner in the league to a team, any team should be excited about that. I think it was too high of a price, man. I'm glad we kept our draft picks. It's been a long time since we drafted a first-round pick. I think we need to do it again. But I say that, but Andy Reid will probably figure out a way to get rid of it for us.
I think they were looking at it like, look, we've given up a lot of draft capital. Maybe it's time to get some young blood into this team and maybe help the defense.
They need to, yes.
Maybe help the offensive line a little bit. I agree. A couple more comments, and then we'll move on to what we were going to talk about. What were we talking about tonight? I don't even remember.
Kenny, good to see you, man. Heart you right back.
Going back to the calls and the Packers, let's talk about this game really quick. We talked about the Steelers. I just want to say I'm impressed. Anytime your third-string quarterback can come in and win, I mean, what we saw what the Jets look like with Luke Falk in there, right? Steelers didn't look like that last night. I say it's impressive. Yes, the Chargers almost caught up to them, but if you're a Super Bowl team, you should be embarrassed losing to a third-string quarterback. The Chargers are dead in the water as far as I see it. Now rest Mahomes. Like I said, if they lose that game, rest Mahomes a week, see if you can get him healthy, and then come back and just dunk on everyone for the rest of the season. But let's talk Packers and Lions, because I know everyone's talking about these calls and the refs and everything. What's your take on it? What is your take on the hands to the face calls that never happened because the Green Bay lineman kind of like recoiled a little bit? I'm not saying he did it on purpose. I'm not, again, tinfoil hat's not on that far, but it was clear watching on TV that Flowers had the guy up under the jersey, right under the neck, didn't touch the face mask, didn't touch anything else. When I watched it, I was like, if I was a ref, I don't know, that looks like hands to the face a little bit. The way the guy kind of like stuck his face back like this when he's an offensive lineman, that's what hands to the face looks like.
And that's what the ref was looking at.
Right.
I'm sure the conversation with the head ref was 100% I saw hands to the face.
Yeah.
Now, we all had the benefit of slowing it down, zooming it in, looking at it over and over again. Guys, this is what it is to play football. Sometimes human error overlaps a lot of this stuff, but you don't want this in the game. I know Detroit fans are like, no, we do. It's unfair.
Right.
You know, it's the same thing as the Chiefs. No, we need to touch the ball during overtime because it's unfair that we didn't get to touch it. Guys, human error makes these games exciting. And I know that is so controversial to say that, and I know some of you guys are going to say I'm crazy, but we sit there and we add replaying everything we do. Get ready for a 5.
First off, we don't have 5 hours.
Get ready for a 5. Get ready for a 6-hour game. And it's not more football. It's more sitting there twiddling your thumbs to find out what New York has decided that it's going to be the right call or not. Because there's plenty of pass interference calls, and I'm like, oh, that was pass interference. They're going to reverse it, and then they don't. So, guys, it sucks. I've been on the other side of this as a Chiefs fan where it goes against me. Lions, you know what you do at this point in time? You prove everyone wrong, and you beat someone by 14 points next week where it doesn't make a difference.
You could do? Not have 13 guys in the field when they're trying to kick a field goal to let them score a touchdown.
And it's not even that.
It is. Because if you don't make those mistakes, it doesn't matter as much at the end of the game.
It's not even that. It's not even that. They kick 5 field goals. How do you beat Aaron Rodgers? Scoring touchdowns. How you don't beat Aaron Rodgers? Kicking 5 field goals.
Letting T.J. Hawkinson drop it and have us
exactly
bench him for a reason.
Regardless, you can sit there and say Detroit should have won that game. They didn't win it because they had an opportunity 5 times to score, and they kicked field goals. We all know what it is to beat Aaron Rodgers. We all know what it is to beat Tom Brady. We all know what it is to beat Patrick Mahomes. It's put the rock in the end zone, and they failed to do it 5 times. Just think about it. Because if that was 5 touchdowns, there would be no worry about hands to the face. This is just a human error. It's part of the NFL. It's part of what makes this game great. On the other side of the ball, the Packers fans are loving it. As sooner or later, maybe next week, maybe a year from now, you guys get to play the opposite side, and you get to be excited that your team won.
Absolutely. A couple more of these comments. Justin says, do they keep him long-term now, or is this a rental going back to Jalen Ramsey? It has to be long-term. Like, you don't make this deal unless you've already talked to the player and decided on a contract number. You can't give up 2 first rounds and a 4th round to have a guy walk on you at the end of the year. This has got to be a 4 to 5 to 6 year contract we're going to see, where they're going to lock this guy up long term for what is essentially his most valuable years in the NFL. He's 24. I think he's going to be 25 by the time the contract is up. You're going to lock him up for 5 years probably and have him leave when he's 30, when he starts to slow down a little bit. I think it has to be long-term there, Justin. Thomas also says he really wishes the Patriots would pick up a stud tight end. Tight end is the thinnest position in the NFL. There are great receivers everywhere. There are great running backs everywhere. There are great offensive linemen and everything else. There are very, very few game-breaking tight ends. And to have 2 of them in one stretch, I know Aaron Hernandez turned out to be a trash-tier human being, and I know Gronkowski got beat up probably a little bit faster than other tight ends did. But to have 2 of them at one time, it's like hitting the lottery and getting struck by lightning in the same day. It just doesn't happen. So I get it. You want to have a great tight end. It's hard to do. Think about all these tight ends that have been drafted. Guys like Gesicki, guys like Dallas Goedert, guys like O.J. Howard and T.J. Hawkinson now, and Noah Fant. Even though these guys are all highly lauded coming out of college, which is why I kind of faded some of these picks in this year's draft, it is so hard to develop one of those guys into a George Kittle, who wasn't highly lauded, into Travis Kelce, not highly lauded until he became a thing with Alex Smith. It's almost impossible to build up a tight end in the NFL. So I understand your kind of want to have one, but when teams have them, it's kind of like we were talking about with Jalen Ramsey. They don't let him go. So you almost have to find a way to draft another one.
Brian, good to see you, man. I know you had a lot of questions. I promise we'll get into LeBron. Jonathan, good to see you as well, man. Don't worry about being behind. It is what it is. We did break the news about Jalen Ramsey. We talked about it a few times now. Guys, the comments are overwhelming. It's so great, but we got to keep moving forward. Let's get to our next topic.
Well, we can just do comments. We were going to talk about guys like Odell Beckham and Jalen Ramsey and Stephon Diggs, and we were going to say, are they going to get traded? Well, obviously one of them is.
Well, I'm sure these guys want to talk about it. Let's talk about it.
We can. And Brian says LeBron messed up. We're going to talk about him too, but we're not going to dwell on it because we don't do politics, number 1, and number 2. I'm pretty sure everyone's dunking on LeBron right now. I know we're not used to seeing that. But we'll talk about him a little bit. I promise you that.
Well, let's do it.
Let's do it. I know. Isn't Facebook amazing? We are live again. So, high five for that.
All right.
So, either our broadcast software crashed, or
we had an internet hiccup,
or Facebook hates us. That is also always an opportunity. So, I guess we're going to give this another go. Obviously, I'm pulling everything back up. You're going to hear an echo for a second because that's just how Facebook is, and it hates me. If you guys are back, please say hi. We're going to go into all of our new trade options here, Drew. Well, we got 8 people back. Hey, welcome back in. Sorry about that. Again, I'm not even sure what happened.
Justin, I do think Facebook is hating us.
We're going to give this. It says we have 2 live videos going on.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I think that's totally
double the
totally
viewership,
accurate.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it is?
Welcome back, Eddie. Glad to see you. Perfect timing, right? We were just changing topics. Why don't we start by talking about this? Guys who are on the trade block.
Yep.
Guys who might, big blockbuster trades that might happen beforehand. So if you got a question about a guy, I know some people were talking about it, or if you just want to kind of shoot down some of these names that we were going to talk about.
Hold on. Steven, if you want to send Raider stuff, send it, man. If not, enjoy Kansas City Chiefs, the red and gold, beautiful colors in your face, day in and day out.
Chiefs are herpes of the computer. I'm going to blame it on that. See, it's touching the monitor, Drew. I think that's what it was. It's definitely infected by now. Welcome back.
You want some of it on yours?
I don't. Isn't there something red already touching mine? There's a Titans can already too close to it. If the Chiefs are herpes, the Titans are probably AIDS. We're going to get booted off. We're not even going to be allowed on the internet here soon.
Let's talk about the Raiders. Oh.
Well, let's talk about Stephon Diggs. Let's talk about him because he's on my list.
It's not happening.
He had one great week. Is that enough? Because the deadline's week 8 now. He could have 2 more bad ones. I do. He could have 2 more bad weeks, and we're talking about Stephon Diggs upset with the Vikings. Look, I think having that big game against the Eagles and what might have been the worst secondary at that point in the NFL certainly helps him, but is he going to say, everything's fixed with Kirk Cousins, or is he going to have a bad week?
Justin, send it, man. It will be on this bar.
We'll make Drew wear the cheese head.
I will wear it. I'm not even a Packers fan.
You were about to be. Stephon Diggs is on the trade block.
Steve is saying Diggs to Buffalo.
I think everyone's saying I want him on my team, right? And Buffalo needs a receiver. We know that. Oakland needs a receiver. I'm kind of with Steven saying that Oakland is a great landing spot for him. The question is, what's the price? Because I think if I'm Minnesota, I want a haul for what might be a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. Okay, maybe 12, maybe 15 if you're being generous. But Stephon Diggs is definitely a game-breaking wide receiver. I think everyone agrees with that. He's a guy that can take one over, and he's a guy that can help out just about any team in this league. So what do you give up for him? What do you have to get in return? We just saw Jalen Ramsey go for 2 firsts in a 4th round. He's an attitude problem.
Okay, here's the best way to put it. Every receiver, every playmaker, defense, running back, quarterback, almost is troublesome in the locker room. Almost. Obviously, you got like your Tom Brady's, your Drew Brees that just go out there and they're so perfect for the team. Everyone respects them. But then there's those guys that just want to be known. I mean, this is their profession. Their career only lasts for so long, and if a team is not doing as well as they want them to do, like Stephon Diggs is doing, they want kind of their name to be out there. They want to go to a contender. They want to change it up and kind of say, well, I'm the reason why they're doing so well.
Right.
Do I think it's okay? No. I think it hurts the game. I think some of these guys need to shut their mouth. I think the Terrell Owens and the Chad Johnsons and so on kind of just need to shut up.
But this is the receiving thing, right? We call them divas for a reason. It's part of the show. It's part of the show. We would have less to talk about if everyone just shut up and played.
How can you not throw like Le'Veon Bell in that? How can you not throw like, realistically, even Adrian Peterson into that?
Yeah, well, they are. They definitely are. I mean, offensive players for sure are in there. But when you're taking that many hits, I think you get to talk about.
What about Deion Sanders?
When you're taking those kind of hits as a running back, maybe you get a little bit more leeway than receivers that never really get touched, and every new rule comes in saying you can't breathe on them. Cornerbacks aren't allowed to touch them anymore. You can't look at him wrong or it's a flag. I think, again, receiver is probably the softest position in the NFL. That doesn't make it easy, but it's also the reason why we see so many talkers playing at wide receiver, because you can't do anything to me, right?
Not anymore.
Unless it's Jalen Ramsey punching the hell out, punching AJ Green. There was not anything you can do to it. There really is not.
Yes, Brian. Shut your mouth and know your role. Quoting The Rock, yes, man, yes, that's exactly it. Listen,
my role is to talk because I'm a wide receiver, right?
He wasn't telling you to.
I know.
Actually, you know what?
You know my role.
Shut up.
Just shut up and play. Shut up and dribble. We're going to talk about that in the end of the show when we talk about LeBron.
Cody says the Vikings still in the playoff hunt. What do they need to keep the Vikings there? Not get rid of Diggs.
Offensive lineman.
Not get rid of Diggs.
I don't know if the Trent Williams thing was confirmed or whether someone was just kind of rumoring it. If you could land Trent Williams and slide Riley Reif inside, I would do that in a heartbeat. Move him inside. Heartbeat. Riley Reif, heartbeat.
Yeah, makes sense.
I would absolutely try to buff up that offensive line and keep Kirk Cousins as safe as humanly possible, because we saw what he can do when there's no pressure on him, and that blew my mind. I was saying the Eagles' pressure was what was going to be what won them that game. The Vikings kept Kirk Cousins pretty clean, and it was like target practice. They absolutely lit everyone up.
Justin, just message us at the end. Just be like, okay, or whatever, and we'll give you the info about the Cheesehead, man. Remind us. You'll probably remember more than we will, just because it's...
We're going to be drunk after this, so...
Well, absolutely.
Tyler, go ahead. Read Will's. We haven't talked to Will.
Will says Tampa needs an O-line.
Yeah, but the problem is they've invested so much money in a bad offensive line. I'm a Titans fan. I know what that's like. We guaranteed $100 million to the worst offensive line in football. When you're invested to the hilt, you can't just get rid of these guys because no one's taking.
The problem isn't your offensive line, man. It's your quarterback.
Well, it's the offensive line, giving up too much pressure, not being able to run the ball. Look, Jameis Winston would look a lot better if they had the 5th best running game in the game. But the problem is they spent that kind of money in the offensive line, and they suck. Like, you can't do both. You can either suck and not spend money on it and have a great rest of the team, or you could spend money in the offensive line and be good and try to make up at other positions. The problem is the Bucs have chosen both to pay bad offensive linemen to stick around and keep representing the team. You're 100% right, Will. They need an offensive line. The problem is when you've paid that kind of money, there's no easy fix. You got to wait this one out.
I think it's a fix at quarterback over the offensive line.
Well, you need one of those two.
Not saying there's not issue on offensive line. Steven says throw Sammy Watkins to the curb, bring in Diggs and Hill. Ow, man. Watkins is good. He's just
not $45 million worth of good.
Yeah, no, he's not. Eddie says he could see the Pats going after Diggs. He hopes not, though.
They could, but again, I don't see the Patriots making blockbuster deals. They always try to make deals on the cheap and revitalize careers. This will be something where they'll throw like a 6th-round pick at somebody and scoop up a receiver that nobody's talking about. It'll be A.J. Green, I think, is the perfect example. They'll throw the Bengals a 4th-round pick. The Bengals will be like, we got something for our 32-year-old receiver we said wasn't on the block. And then the Patriots will win another Super Bowl because of it.
Steven's already given his extra first-round pick for Stephon Diggs. Justin says, Patriots just got back N'Keal Harry this week. No, he's practicing. That's not guaranteed he's going to play. By the way, guys,
also a rookie.
Great waiver wire pickup in your fantasy leagues. If you're looking for a receiver, you're looking for a backup, N'Keal Harry, worth a pickup because what does Tom Brady do? He loves new weapons, especially game 1.
This late, I absolutely agree with that. But don't go into next week thinking N'Keal Harry's going to be great. Watch and see what he does for the next 3 weeks because rookie receivers, kind of like tight ends,
to be honest,
takes a couple years to develop.
I don't even think he's going to play this week. If he does, it would surprise me. I actually think it's going to be the week after that where he kind of explodes, but still probably worth a pickup. By all means, especially if you got a guy that's sitting there that hadn't done anything for you, why not? You never know what Tom Brady can do with the receivers.
And Cody says, so as a Vikings fan, would you sacrifice this season for next? Look, if Stephon Diggs is becoming a locker room problem, and he has been, he's not demanded a trade, but when he went out and said, they asked him about all his problems, and if he had any problem with Kirk Cousins and everything, he said, all of that is my problem right now. What do you think it sounds like behind the scenes? If he is causing a disruption in the locker room, do punt him. You're not passing the ball well anyway, right? I know you had a great week against the Eagles, but everyone has a great week against the Eagles.
Yeah.
I love Stephon Diggs, but he's got to have his mind right to stay on the Vikings. If you could go trade him for a great offensive lineman, it takes some thought. Let me tell you that. I would certainly think about it, especially if I can pick up another pick as well.
Alan, what's going on, man? He says, what are the Chiefs going to do that now that Kendall Fuller has a fractured thumb? He'll probably get it casted, man, and he'll probably play anyways, to be honest with you. Unless he needs surgery, then it's a different scenario. But to be honest, if it's just a fracture, he's already played with a cast before last year. He's familiar with this territory. Don't expect a lot of picks, but he will definitely be kind of punching with that cast down the line when he gets a little bit more healed. Kenny says he would like to discuss Mariota and the offensive line issues that Tennessee has.
So would I, buddy. Let's talk about it. Again, the Titans are playing very coy with who they want to be their starter next week. They have said Mike Vrabel has come out and said that he doesn't want it to be a revolving door. He wants to pick a guy and go with it, which kind of makes you lean Tannehill, right? If he doesn't want a revolving door, usually it's like flipping a light switch. It's Marcus until it's time for Tannehill. You can't tell me Tannehill didn't look a lot better, despite the offensive line struggles. The offensive line has sucked. Nobody can argue that. There's $100 million guaranteed going to these guys. The Ben Jones extension was an absolute head scratcher to me. But they're paying these guys, and they're playing as, like I said, they've given up the second most number of sacks this season, the first most number of negative yardage plays. They've got to play better. But you got to go with Tannehill. You got to go with the guy that's utilizing the receiving weapons despite the pressure. Marcus Mariota is seeing ghosts out there. And he's done it before when he broke his leg in year, I believe it was 2, it might have been 3. I don't know, he has a lot of injuries. When he broke his leg, he came back gun-shy for a little while, overcame it after a bit. He's back to being gun-shy after his elbow injury last season. That still probably is not healed. That's why you see him throw as many ducks as he does. The Tennessee Titans have got to go with Ryan Tannehill unless they're ready to scuttle the season. If you're ready to say, we need a draft pick because we don't believe in Ryan Tannehill and it's time to go draft somebody, let Marcus finish it out, go for a bad record, and then try to draft or trade up or do what you need to do to get a young quarterback.
I think Mike Vrabel's kind of on the hot seat just a little bit. I think he's going to play for the wins.
He's getting hotter.
But he's going to play for wins just like most NFL coaches do.
Until the GM or the owner, our owner intercedes, comes down and says, I want Marcus to start. And then what do? When your boss says Marcus is starting, who's starting the game?
Brian wants you to know that heart beef is high in protein and great with sautéed onions.
I've seen Dancing with Wolves, right?
And he says, when are we going to talk about the XFL draft? He said, just kidding.
We can. We can talk about there's no quarterbacks in there.
What?
I thought about
Aaron
talking
Murray?
about this today.
Aaron Murray's not
who I liked
exciting
coming
you?
out of college.
Not
Not loved, but I liked him. I was like,
did.
I think he's a good third-round quarterback. Real quick in the XFL, I was expecting this to be Tim Tebow, Colin Kaepernick, Johnny Manziel coming out as quarterbacks in this league. Big shock names, kind of like that whole WWE, clickbaity, whatever you want to call it, where look at all these names we got to play football for us. Instead, it's kind of the opposite. They're headlined by Cardell Jones, who pretty big washout in the NFL.
Got Landry Jones.
stud for Pittsburgh for years until they decided Mason Rudolph was better.
And
then decided we'll go with Devlin instead of Landry Jones as our third string quarterback, or we'll stick with the kid Josh Dobbs from Tennessee, who's not very good, instead of Landry Jones. So yeah, the XFL's in trouble. I think. I'm underwhelmed before the season has started, but we'll talk about it when they get a little bit closer.
Steven, I'm going to ignore your comments. We don't believe in hate here towards Kansas City Chiefs. Kenny says, everyone keeps on saying, let's see what Mariota does. But he means it's been 5 years. That's what both Jake and I have been saying for a very long time. It's kind of like, I think it's already been written.
If it was going to happen, it would have happened, right? And it's the excuses are always there. When he throws a pick, it's the receiver wasn't in the right spot, or the offensive line gave up too much pressure, or it was tipped, or the injuries aren't his fault, or yada, 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 yada. I'm tired of hearing it. I think it was plain to see to me in preseason Ryan Tannehill was the much better quarterback. He should have been the starter out of the gate. Instead, I think the ownership group needs to explain why this team's sitting at 2-4 when they probably should be 4-2, having played a better quarterback than Marcus Mariota.
Ray, we did talk about Jalen Ramsey going to the Rams, man. Check out our video before this as the internet messes up.
Lot to pay, yeah.
We talked about it quite a bit. Cody says Tebow makes way too much money to come back and play for pennies, and Brian says Stoops out of retirement to coach the XFL. Surprising #boomer.
For the love of the game, right? If you want to go back, if you don't want to go out like that, maybe you could see Tebow come back. I know these guys are going to make like something around the number of $55K a year, which is, like you said, pennies on the dollar when you look at the NFL minimum contract being like $400,000. But I still thought we'd see a little bit of surprise. Maybe they'd make an exception where they paid the quarterbacks more than everybody else. I don't know how entertaining the XFL is going to be. At the end of the day, it's got to be entertaining football if they want to keep people. How do you do that? You get good quarterback play. I don't care if it's 73 to 64 and we look like the Arena League. I think that's better than seeing guys go out there and not be able to complete passes. So we'll see if this bold strategy, Cotton, let's see if it pays off for him.
Steve said he just read an article that Buffalo is targeting A.J. Green because Melvin Gordon is high on the radar. Could you imagine? Go ahead. I'm going to kind of change his comment to how does Buffalo's team offensively change with, let's just say, they got Melvin Gordon, which is not on the trading block, and they got A.J. Green, which is going to be a first-rounder, supposedly, is what the Bengals are saying. What would that change for the Buffalo Bills and their future in this year?
For A.J. Green, I think, again, that's short-term. This is the we can beat the Patriots kind of mentality. We're one great playmaker away from beating the Patriots. For Melvin Gordon, it's the longer-term, we're going to be a good running team. We're going to bring in the young running back. But with the injuries, are you really that interested in paying him a ton of money and then giving up draft picks to bring him in as well? Frank Gore's kind of got you through to this point. I don't think targeting Melvin Ingram, unless you can give like a third-round pick to bring him in, is the right move. And it's Buffalo's going to run the ball. We all know that. They've done a decent job of it already. I think this is a waiting game for Buffalo. Don't give up a draft pick that could turn into another great player for you to bring in a running back that you're going to have to pay anyway. Just wait till he gets upset and the Chargers cut him. I mean, it's pretty obvious he's not happy with his contract, right? Eventually, Melvin Gordon's going to be out there, and when he is, pounce on him then. Make him an offer he can't refuse, right? Now, Kenny wants to know what's the deal with Will Dissly. How long is he expected out? Their tests were inconclusive, and I know this because I was the guy who picked him up in fantasy and thinking I got the steal of the year in fantasy. But they believe that he does still have a ruptured Achilles. He's probably done for the season. My apologies to Will Dissly. This probably wouldn't have happened if I didn't pick him up in fantasy.
Kenny, as far as I know, it's not confirmed. He's listed as doubtful for this Sunday's game.
Hey, George, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
To be honest with you, man, I would say he's probably done. I would say that if you're sitting there with him on your fantasy team, I'd probably move on without him. Even if he comes back from this, if it's a strain or even a partial tear, he might, slim chance, play this postseason.
If it turns out to not be ruptured, I'm going to say sit him. Wait another week because they'll know in a week if it's actually ruptured or not. And as soon as it's ruptured, let him go because that'll be it for the season. I say 85% chance it's ruptured, 90%. But take the 10% chance, park him on the bench, and then when it is, that's when I say punt.
To be honest, even if it's not completely torn or ruptured or whatever, a lot of Achilles need surgery and it ends up being a season-long problem anyways. The only way that he's going to be coming back this year before postseason is it's just a very high pulled Achilles, which sounds like that is not the case.
Yeah. Usually when it's an Achilles, it's torn or ruptured, and they think it's ruptured, which is they're both year-long injuries that it takes a long time to come back from. 9 months.
Hashtag Eric Berry.
Yeah. Or, take your pick. Anyone that has an Achilles injury, if you tear it all the way, it rolls up like a shade from a cartoon, just all the way up to the knee. Terrible. Ian says, if done right, the XFL might succeed. Look at the Alliance. It was a fun league, but presentation is my biggest thing. Make it fun to watch this game. Put a comedian in the booth with a play-by-play guy. That's what I would do. Make it interesting. Instead of what the Alliance did, where you overpaid Maurice Jones-Drew, who, despite knowing football, is not entertaining to listen to. I'm sorry, MJD. It's not just because you're a Jaguar. Not entertaining to listen to. They put him up there with Marvin Lewis. Both of those guys know what they're talking about, but are not the most interesting people to listen to. Find somebody fun to listen to. I'm going to call Vince McMahon after we're done here. Hopefully I'll get us spots.
We should.
And put them in the booth. I think presentation is huge when you are not a league based on skill. You need to be a league based on entertainment.
I think you should be the play-by-play guy, and I'll be the color guy.
You got to say something funny for once. I'm kidding.
Why do you think everyone's here?
Exactly. And Cody also says the Seahawks have a couple capable backups at tight end. Yes, I don't think Will Dissly's a world beater either. I think he just plays with a great quarterback, and when that happens, good things happen. Maybe you pick up the shackle. I think I'd be looking into backup tight ends and trying to guess which one's going to get the load in Seattle.
Brian says at least it should serve as a farm league / proving grounds. That's kind of what the American Alliance League was supposed to be, but I think this has a better opportunity, Brian. I think you're right on track. As far as the game goes, I mean, who doesn't love more football?
Right, and I would say don't try to be the NFL. Don't try to be the, two straight guys. Okay, not sexually, but you know what I'm saying. Two guys that aren't exactly funny going up there saying... that was terrible, wasn't it?
It was absolutely terrible.
I was
wondering what you were going to do.
You're wondering where I'm going with that? Don't be two guys that aren't entertaining to listen to, that are just going to go out there and give you, regular football analysis. Don't be Joe Buck out there saying, the running back takes a 6-yard carry, and wow, what a play. Make it fun to listen to. Again, make it fun to talk about. This is something that I think all minor leagues, college could benefit from this. Do something different than the NFL. Don't try to imitate the NFL with lesser talent. I know I'm getting killed in the comments. I don't even want to read it.
No, it's more on me, man. Kevin, good to see you, man. I'm glad
we're going to ignore everything else.
Will says, I'm going to sit here and tell you that was a great play. Uncle Drew. And Brian says, Drew says that sexual... I'm done.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
My bad. Swing and a miss on my behalf. That's not what I meant, and you knew it. Steve also says the best thing for the XFL to succeed, and it now. Just punt. Just give it up. They can still do it. Everyone loves football. Everyone wants football in the summer. I think they should delay it a little bit, but that would make it hard for guys to want to play because they think they're going on to the NFL when realistically they're probably not. I would just try to make it as entertaining as possible. And guess what the WWE is? Nobody watches the WWE for to hear Joe Buck say, "Oh, and there's Stone Cold Steve Austin takes him down." Nobody listens to that. You want to hear the announcers get into it. You want to hear the presentation. It's all about the story. If anyone can do that, it's Vince McMahon, right? I believe in that. I think this needs to be an entertaining football league over a technically sound football league. Make it fun to tune into.
Terry, good to see you. He wants to know, do we think Bridgewater will stay in New Orleans?
Yeah, interesting question. Depends what the market looks like, because going into this year, I said there aren't many teams that need a quarterback, right, Drew? We're like, man, there have been a lot of rookie quarterbacks taken, but now Andy Dalton's looking pretty bad in Cincinnati. Josh Rosen might get Rosened again and kicked to the sideline. Miami drafts one. You might have the Titans draft one. You might have Washington do the same thing to Dwayne Haskins and boot him after a year. There are a lot of teams out there that could potentially use a new young quarterback. Do I think Teddy Bridgewater gets a starting spot? If he has the opportunity to, he'll probably leave the Saints. If it's like this year and he says, Miami's really bad, I don't want to start for them, maybe he sticks around in New Orleans for another year.
Chris, it was a tough loss, and I'm not losing faith. You're absolutely right. This is what the Kansas City Chiefs do. It is normal. I didn't expect 16-0, even though I will always, unless completely obvious, will choose the Chiefs to win this game.
And Justin says, get Dwayne The Rock Johnson or Stone Cold Steve Austin. They both play football. He says they know the game, and if you don't like Stone Cold, well, I'm going to let you finish that one in the comments. Look, I agree. It doesn't have to be wrestlers. Just get somebody entertaining to listen to. I don't care if you go for like stand-up comics. I don't care if you go out for a wrestler or someone that can make the game fun. Just be fun presentation-wise. That's what I want to see. I don't want to tune into the game and have to put it on mute because Marvin Lewis and MJD are boring me to death. And that's what happened in the Alliance. Every Alliance game, I was like, I'm done listening to this.
Kevin lets us know that the Nationals are already 7-0 in the bottom of the first. Pushing that big lead already, man. Nationals look scary. No doubt.
They do. Again, mentality over skill, right? Baseball is a game of streaks, more maybe than any sport out there.
And they got good pitching.
Absolutely. I think the Nationals are fantastic. It's tough for the Cardinals fans out there. I guess, what is it, number 20 is going to have to wait? Do they have 19, is that right? Or is it 27? I forget.
It doesn't
Yankees
matter.
are 29. I think the Cardinals are...
it's 27.
Okay. The Yankees are 27?
Yeah, we're looking for number 28.
Yeah, okay. The Cardinals are 19, I think. Like, closest one to them. I guess it's Nationals and Astros then, right? Done and dusted. It's definitely not. But now is the time to tune into baseball.
Yeah, no doubt.
Finally, Odell Beckham. Another name I want to talk about trading, and then we'll move on, talk about LeBron, and get out of here. Also, Thursday Night Football. Does Odell Beckham get traded? Because I've seen a lot of people calling for his head out there in Cleveland. Everyone's saying, just trade him. Just move him on.
No.
Is it the right move? Is there any kind of scenario where you're like, that makes this team better by moving on from Odell Beckham?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, let's be honest. The Browns aren't winning a Super Bowl this year. I know there was all that hype about it. Anytime you could trade a talent and get first-round picks for next year, it might be worth your time. It might be worth it. But no, they're not going to do that.
Kenny says he wouldn't be upset with Bridgewater starting for the Titans. I would. I'm not a big Teddy Bridgewater guy. I think he's the best of backup quarterbacks, but he's not the guy you want leading the charge. Again, we're talking about the Saints getting by in a lot of these games with Teddy Bridgewater, and that roster's set to succeed. Look at that defense. Look at guys like Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara being top 5, top 5. I'm going to say top 5. Each one of those guys is top 5 at their position. They have a good offensive line as well. We need to see more out of Teddy Bridgewater if he wants to be like a guy you feel comfortable starting for your team. Great backup, not a great starter.
Jacob, good to see you. He said he was at Game 5 of the Dodgers and the Nationals, and he called the Nationals to win the World Series after that performance. Hot. They are hot right now.
They are absolutely hot, and that matters hugely in baseball. Short-term variance in baseball when you get to the playoffs. All that money ball goes out the window when you get to the postseason. I'm still going to go Astros. I love pitching. I like Max Scherzer. I think the Nats have some great pitching, but Garrett Cole is just a monster. I'm not going to swear again. I've been kind of loose this episode, Drew. Garrett Cole's a monster. Justin Verlander, obviously we all know how good he is, and then you bring in Zach Greinke as well on top of it to be your third starting pitcher. Zach Greinke.
It's good.
That's a nightmare. How do you play against that?
The Yankees. I was about to say Kansas.
Yeah, you hit 38 home runs.
The Yankees are going to beat them. All right, don't worry about it.
Guess we'll see.
All right, Ray says, have we all been up on the drama of Cam Newton and the Panthers on possibly him losing his starting position?
We've talked about it briefly, but let's talk about it.
I mean, well, okay.
Could Cam get traded?
I might have to take a bathroom break, but I don't see Cam getting traded. But Kyle Allen has deserved every bit as his starting position to stay as his. He's 5-0.
4-0.
No, he is 5-0. He started last year. He started last year as a starter. He won that game.
Career-wise.
He is 5-0. He has not thrown an interception in any of his starting roles. This is a guy that you just ride the hot seat. Is Cam Newton a better quarterback? Maybe in the long term of it all, but you sit there and you bench someone like Kyle Allen for Cam to get hurt again or to start losing games and bring Kyle back in. You have lost all momentum. You have lost all trust in this guy. He no longer believes you in an organization. Why in the world would you ever put Cam back in there when you have a quarterback that has not lost you a game as a starter? That's it. That's the most important thing for me. As far as trading him goes, it's not this year. I think you keep him as a backup. God forbid Kyle gets hurt. You put Cam in there. You move on. But right now you're 4-2.
I think you should feel pretty good.
You're looking at the playoffs and you're comfortable. You're comfortable.
Again, Cam Newton had a Liz Frank injury, which is a foot injury, on the top of the foot bones, I believe, where it has to do with the ligaments in there, which is very, very tough for a runner to overcome. And we all know Cam Newton's strength is his running game.
I'll be right back.
Go ahead. I'll be here. We all know that a Liz Frank injury is very, very tough for a runner to overcome. We see guys miss an entire year with a Liz Frank injury. So when I look at Cam Newton being out with that injury, why would you want to rush him back? I understand the trade talk, and some people have said, should they trade Cam Newton, get what they can out of an aging running quarterback? But what are you realistically going to get? Do you see a team trading a first-round pick for Cam Newton? I wouldn't. He has accuracy issues, and yes, he had the 1 year, and I believe it was 2013, where he looked like an all-star quarterback, where he took his team to the Super Bowl. Except for that, he's not been a great passer. So when the running game dries up, what are you buying? I don't see Cam Newton moving on in this free agency unless they sell him for really cheap. This trade deadline, unless they sell him for really cheap. But when I look at Cam Newton, he is a guy that you want to have behind Kyle Allen, that Kyle Allen struggles. And you can go back to the veteran that's been around the block and can lead this team. Or he's a guy that maybe you never need him, and he's just a mentor. He's just a guy that can help keep guys in the locker room on the same pace. I know Cam Newton's a diva, but he's never struck me as a cancer in a locker room. We've never seen Cam Newton come out and just be totally toxic to the Panthers organization. He's usually on message. I think having a guy like that, even if he can accept the backup role, helps this team out immensely. A couple more here. Brian says he wonders what Colin Cowherd's opinion is on Cleveland. I think all you have to do is watch 15 minutes of that show, and he'll tell you what he thinks about Baker Mayfield, at least. But I think we all kind of said Freddie Kitchens wasn't the right guy to take the reins over, right? I don't think there were a whole lot of people out there saying Freddie Kitchens is going to lead this team on to the playoffs. I think we all know that Freddie Kitchens is over his head with all these big attitudes. The question is, how do you recover? How do you respond? And that's what you should always ask. So far, it hasn't been great. They played tough against the Seahawks, which is good to see, but I thought their comeback was 2 weeks ago against the 49ers, and then they came out absolutely flat and got dominated. I think everyone needs to be out on Cleveland. For all that talent, you have to perform better, and I understand the talk of get something out of Odell Beckham while you can, but here's my point. You just got this guy for a song. Obviously, you believe in what he can do talent-wise with the way Odell Beckham can catch the ball and the way he can change the game. Find a way to get all these attitudes in Cleveland under control and get everyone playing good football, and this team can still take off. This season might be done. Regardless of what you think about Baker Mayfield, regardless of what you think about Odell Beckham, I need to see at least one more year before I'm ready to give up on this Cleveland experiment.
What are we talking about?
Cleveland. Talking about Cleveland.
What about him?
Before your golf ball-sized bladder gave out on you. We were talking about Cleveland trading Odell Beckham. Is it the right move? I'm going to ask you. I know you said no before, but...
No. You don't do it. It's too early.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I get it. Baker Mayfield has made himself a fool. He's gone out there and made so many commercials. Everyone's kind of just thrown him under the water.
And Ian says he thinks Tennessee traded for Eli. If he does, I'm just going to turn the show off. I don't know how I deal with that.
The best way to put it is this guy didn't even play the full season, guys. Baker Mayfield, as much as he is a out there going kind of guy, putting his face and name in every scenario, the guy hasn't even played 16 games. You have a talent like Odell Beckham Jr., you keep him there. That's the best way to develop a young quarterback, is to have a great receiver.
Totally agree.
He's not causing issues in the locker room right now. If anyone's causing issues, it's more Baker Mayfield. The issues still rely, and you've known this if you listen to our show. I tell you about this all the time. It relies on Freddie Kitchens not being able to control all these personalities. No, you don't trade him. You keep him there.
Cody says, what about Cam to Denver? So you guys are talking about this on the noise. So guys are talking about this on the noise box. They shouldn't be. Why? If you're Denver and your defense is struggling and you can't run the ball and the offensive line is struggling to protect anybody, what is Cam Newton going to do for you? Realistically, at 2-4, why are you giving up a pick to bring in Cam Newton, who's over 30 now and a running quarterback? Again, I get it. They probably missed on Drew Lock because we haven't seen him yet. Joe Flacco's probably not the long-term answer. Keep swinging the bat until you hit the ball. Bringing in a 30-year-old guy who can't throw the ball at quarterback rarely works out in the NFL.
Kenny said that at least Mayfield leaned on how to run the ball when he's wide open for a run. Absolutely, man. That's why you cannot give up on this young guy. Cameron says, what if the Titans trade Mariota to the Steelers and trade for Cam Newton? Thoughts, Jake?
Why would the Steelers pick up Mariota. And I'm with you in the sense that it would be nice to trade him instead of letting him walk at the end of the season. But if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, can you clear $20 million in cap space for a guy with an expiring contract that's going to expect to be paid at the end of the season? And do you think you can salvage the season with Marcus Mariota? A guy that has had a defense, kind of like Pittsburgh has right now, has had somewhat of a running game, kind of like Pittsburgh is right now. You could say Juju Smith-Schuster's the best out of the receivers he has, but I think the Titans have a deeper roster of receivers than Pittsburgh does. Do you succeed with Marcus?
Maybe. Oh, yeah. I'll give you that.
I'll take pretty much any Titan receiver over James Washington. I might take Tajay Sharp over
Juju's
James Washington.
better than any receiver the Titans have. Okay,
Sure.
I'll give you. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll agree.
Yeah, no, they got number one, but then the Titans
Kevin
have 2,
says
3,
Cam
4,
sucks.
and maybe 5.
He says he sucks. He's getting the former MVP of the NFL league.
Sucks.
Sucks.
He wins games, though. He wins games. You put a defense around him, you put a little bit of running game, and you can win games. Is it enough to win a Super Bowl? No. But is Denver winning a Super Bowl? No.
Ian says, oh, hell no. If the Steelers did that, he's done.
If I'm doing it, I'm dancing, man. I'd take a 3rd-round pick. 4th-round pick, I'll take it. Whatever it's got to be.
Mariota's going to find himself on the free agency list.
And he'll be somebody's kind of compete for it / backup quarterback like a Fitzpatrick was for Miami this year, like a Joe Flacco for Denver this year. And he won't be good enough to win the job.
Cameron is backing up his thought here. He says he thinks Mariota could be a plus for the Steelers, especially with Hodges currently starting. He as a backup role.
Hodges just beat the
he's saying as a backup
the Chargers.
role.
I almost said San Diego, but that's not right. As a backup to Hodges, you're going to well, here's my question. If that's what you wanted, just keep Josh Dobbs, right? And I'm not being too critical of you here. Marcus Mariota, the problem with him is that he has a $20 million cap hit right now, and if you trade for him mid-season, you have to have $20 million in cap space, and almost no NFL teams do. There's a couple of them out there, I think, that have close to it, but you have to spend 95% of the cap. So there might not be any. I think, again, when you look at these teams, nobody's going to have the money, which means you're going to have to get rid of good players that you already have that you're paying money to bring in Marcus Mariota. I think a trade for him at this point is supremely unlikely unless the Titans eat some cap with whoever they bring in instead.
Sean, good to see you, man. Glad you could join us. David said Ramsey goes to Rams but lose Peters, ? And Steve says Cam Newton to Washington or Miami, and what are our thoughts on that?
My point is, like, long-term, what do you get with Cam Newton? If you're going to trade for Cam Newton, especially if you're Washington and especially if you're Miami and you have to rebuild these franchises and your picks are likely to be good, what are you getting out of Cam Newton long-term that says that it's worth doing? Do you think Cam Newton turns either one of these teams around into a playoff team in the next 2 to 3 years? We know the shelf life on running quarterbacks is short. We know Cam Newton's taking a lot of hits. We saw him in the Super Bowl not want to reach out for that fumble and put his body at risk anymore for you.
The Super Bowl. How do you not, dude? I would have thrown my first.
Put your neck out there.
Yeah, get the ball.
Sorry, Ayla. Again, I don't think either one of those teams are a good landing spot for Cam in a trade. I think this is a spot where if they bring him in as a free agent because Carolina's decided it's time to move on, whether Kyle Allen's the guy or whether it's time to go draft somebody, the moral of the story is you can't trade for a guy like Cam and you can't trade for a guy like Marcus because neither one of those guys realistically sets you up closer. You can do it with a young guy, right? With Rosen, it makes sense where you're like, maybe we develop him, maybe he takes us to a Super Bowl, maybe we like what we've seen. When you've got a guy that's been in the league 5 years with Mariota, or what is it, 8 or 9 now with Cam, 7, 8, 9,
it's been a while.
You're pretty clear what you've got, and you know that guy by himself probably doesn't get you there.
Cody says Carolina has embraced Cam's flaws instead of forcing him to develop into a mature quarterback, passing more than decision making.
I think a lot of it's just over conservatism, like Carolina has. They don't want to make the change, and I think the Titans have suffered from that too, where they just don't want to make a change. That's why you saw Marcus start for 6 games, and now the team's sitting at 2-4, and they're thinking about making a decision. The Panthers probably knew. Maybe they saw 2013, and they've had that kind of watershed moment where they said Cam Newton can be a great thrower. Cam Newton can be a great quarterback. So they said maybe we just need to get that again. So I'll give the Panthers a pass. Did we have that with Marcus? Was it year 2 where he threw 2,800 yards and had an 11-7 touchdown to interception ratio or something like that? Or maybe it was 2-1. I forget what. Maybe it was 14-7.
Steven says Cam to Denver makes sense to him, not the talent, but Elway loves bringing in washed-up vets. And Kevin says Cam is not Superman. Sean, hope you enjoyed your time in Florida, man. Sounds like a great time to me. Kenny says, Gardner Minshew thoughts. Kenny, let me tell you right now, ever since he started, we have talked about this guy literally from week 1 and on. So if you want to check any of that out, dude, check out our older videos. We talk about him quite.
You sure you don't want me here to go into a rant?
Quite often. But let me just sum it up for you real quickly. Overrated.
From the longest yard. Thank you, John.
Overrated.
Rated.
Possibly could be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Okay, you say that, but you were like, dude, he's great beforehand, and then he has a bad
The
week
word
against Carolina.
Great never came out of my mouth.
You totally said that. You totally said that.
It was
before the show.
probably I said it because I'm sick and tired of you just bashing the
Dude,
kid.
he's great. He's great. He's amazing. And I'm like, okay, 200
Whoa!
yards a year.
Okay, I'll give you great, but I never once
yards
said
a game.
amazing.
Whatever. No, okay, great, but what's the difference?
Oh, Kenny, don't apologize,
Aren't
man.
they kind of the same thing?
Don't
No,
apologize
Kenny.
by any means.
Absolutely.
What I'm trying to get is not him on his soapbox over here, and he's going to step up and start talking about how he can't grow a stash.
I will.
So he hates everyone that can.
I will take a second and not take a swing at that pinata because I think I've beaten Gardner Minshew to death at this point. If you want to see it, like you said, we've talked about him a lot. I don't think he's good enough. Drew thinks he's amazing. I think for a backup quarterback, he's fine, right? That's what you want your backup to do: is come in, throw 200 yards, and not
Amazing
turn the
is a
ball over.
strong word.
You said he was great.
I'll give you that. I said he was great, but he is. How is he not? The guy has literally taken a terrible organization on the offensive side of the ball and is in games. What was what's his name? The guy before him, not Nick
Blake
Foles.
Bortles?
Blake Bortles
Okay,
doing.
all right. So he's better than Blake Bortles, but anyone
Okay.
will tell you that.
And so far, he's better than Nick Foles. No, I'm just kidding.
All right,
He's
Nick
not.
Foles.
I'm
Nick
kidding,
Foles
he's
is a
not.
Super Bowl MVP. Okay, I'm
No,
pretty sure
that doesn't mean nothing to you.
well,
Don't try
for
to change
Eli.
it now.
Okay, but
Don't
look
try
at
to-
how he did it. Look at how he did it. He put up like 699 yards or something like that, Drew, and like 39 touchdowns in one game.
Don't try to change this now.
That's a little different than Eli, who had an amazing defense.
He is
playing
a
with him.
two-time MVP, Super Bowl
Okay, all right.
champion,
And
2 rings, beating the best quarterback
Okay,
supposedly
all
of
right.
all time,
So, real quick,
Eli Manning
Ian
is
says
better
Cam to
than
Tampa Bay.
Nick Foles. Admit it.
Would you say
Eli Manning is better than Nick Foles.
I'll take Nick Foles. I'll take Nick Foles. I think Nick Foles had the better career. How about that? When you think about how terrible Eli Manning has been for like the past 8.
So, if you had an option and you were about to draft either Nick Foles in his career or Eli
Do I have
Manning
the
in
same
his
team?
career,
If I have the same team, I'm taking Nick
you're
Foles.
taking the quarterback
did you
knowing what's about to happen.
Steve says Nick Foles is overrated, but let me say
Agreed.
this. Let me say this. Do you remember him with Chip Kelly? And do you remember everyone else with Chip
You
Kelly?
would really take Nick Foles over Eli Manning as far as career goes?
Young Eli Manning, I would take. But if it's a whole career, hold on, let me
Manning
finish.
is border Hall of Fame.
No,
Nick Foles,
Eli Manning is borderline Hall of Fame because he won Super Bowls with an amazing defense.
Nick Foles
that got hot
is
at the right time.
nowhere near a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, well, yeah, he hasn't started enough games, right? Obviously, no one's voting a guy that hasn't started enough games into the Hall of Fame. Okay, but if Nick Foles goes on to start for the next 5 years, Nick Foles might wind up into the Hall of Fame if he takes the Jaguars to the playoffs once or twice. Again, Super Bowl MVP, beat Tom Brady. I know both those guys have that mantra, but when you look at Eli Manning and you look at, okay, he had those 2 great years. Not even great years. They squeaked in as like the 6th seed in one of them, and I think the other one they were like the 5th seed or the 4th seed or something like that. That was not dominant performances. These teams got hot. He did it with amazing defenses. Look at those defensive ends he played with. Yeah, I get it. Philadelphia had some good defensive ends themselves, but they didn't have a great defense. They weren't murderers on defense like the Giants were.
Okay, Nick Foles didn't even play a whole 16 games.
And it took which is even more impressive. He was a backup. How many backups come in and beat Tom Brady in the playoffs?
All right,
One,
guys.
Eli Manning.
All right, guys, I got a question for you real quick.
right.
If your team was about to draft Eli Manning or Nick Foles, knowing what their futures hold for you.
Right now.
No,
I'm saying
no.
your team right now. Like, if you're the Steelers in this situation, or you're the Titans, or you're the Chiefs, or you're the Raiders, or the
Manning
Bills,
is going
or
to
whoever,
win you
who are you taking?
2 Super Bowls and be
Okay, no,
completely
that is the wrong way to phrase it.
mediocre.
Wrong way to
And
phrase
then
it.
you have Nick Foles.
Absolutely wrong way to phrase it
who's
because
gonna-
you don't know that your team's going to be that good. If you're going to take Eli Manning right now at 23, or you're going to take Nick Foles right now at 23, knowing what they could become as a passer, I'm going to take Nick Foles. If you're saying, if I can have 2 Super Bowls or 1, which would I rather have? Come on, Drew. Everyone's taking 2 Super Bowls there.
I know.
You phrased it wrong. I know you phrased it totally wrong.
That's why you take Eli over Nick Foles.
I apologize. That was rude. But I got a little hyped up. All right.
You're fine, dude. I don't care.
Cam to Tampa Bay.
Steve says Eli. God, I knew Steve was such a smart guy. See, I told you.
That's just because Steve's a Buffalo fan and he hates New England. And Eli's beat him more than Nick Foles has. I'm gonna take a breath.
Says, you guys are talking about Eli Manning or Nick Foles. Who cares? They're both garbage.
Fair point.
Listen, you take Eli Manning. Cody agrees.
99
he says
out of
99 out of 100. You take Eli Manning.
Are we forgetting who's tied the record
Kenny
for most touchdown
says
passes
Eli
in a
is
single
done,
game?
but Kenny, I know, would take Eli Manning as a rookie over Nick Foles.
No. Nope. Can't do it. Who threw 7 touchdowns in the game? Was it Eli Manning? Oh, no, that's right. It was Nick Foles. Tying, better Manning, Peyton Manning in that game.
Is saying Eli Manning.
I'm not going to do it.
Dude,
I'm not going to do it.
how many more
I don't
people
like
do you
quitters.
need?
You can all say it. And
Do you
I'm
want
still
me to
gonna
text
say
my
this.
grandmother?
No, because what does she know about this?
That Eli Manning
She knows
is better
Eli
than Nick
Manning
Foles?
personally. She's in the Eli camp. She knows him. It's not fair. Look, Drew, I look at this game, or I look at this matchup. I say that a lot, so that's why I came out. I look at this matchup. Give me Nick Foles, 100%. It's not even close. Nick Foles has the much higher ceiling. Eli Manning got lucky in the right spot, and look at those Super Bowl games he won. It took David Tyree catching an amazing pass to beat him. It took Mario Manningham
the word you said
having
was
another
amazing
amazing
pass.
one.
Yeah.
No, amazing catch.
You
Terrible pass,
got it right.
amazing catch.
Dude, it was right there. It's where it needed
Dude,
to
right
be.
there, yeah. And if he doesn't get that, the linebacker standing behind him does. Eli Manning, 2 Super Bowl wins, not better than Phillip Rivers. So how do I take Eli Manning over a guy like Nick Foles? I just don't do it. Not that Nick Foles is better than Phillip Rivers, but I'm saying Nick Foles, better quarterback than Eli Manning. Eli Manning, worst guy out of that draft class. When you look at the big
With
3.
2 rings.
Okay, sure. But that doesn't make you a great player. Does that make Troy Aikman like the best quarterback ever?
No.
Or Terry Bradshaw, is he the best quarterback to ever play the game?
Well, he did call he called his own plays.
Stop it. Stop it. He's not.
And he played in a completely different era.
Trent Dilfer, is he better than Dan Marino?
He won one. And
Dan Marino won none of them.
And he won.
So Dan Marino's garbage. He never
Trent
won.
Dilfer won off of literally, arguably, the second best defense of all time.
And what did Eli have? An amazing defense.
Not top 25.
I'm going to swear at you here soon. You're pushing my buttons.
Okay.
Top 25 in the NFL?
Yes.
Or all time?
All time.
Okay.
Do the New York Giants
that'll
defense that won the Super Bowl
No, they're not
have
top 25
all-time defense?
Maybe like...
No.
Because
you cannot.
Because there have been a lot of great defenses that have not even made the playoffs.
But they've been like 7 and 8 seeds coming in and winning the Super Bowl.
Sure. And they're not the top 25 overall because there have been a lot of great defenses that have made the playoffs. Did they have a great defense? You're absolutely right, they did. For a backup quarterback to come in cold and lead the Philadelphia Eagles to a Super Bowl win, not to mention he was one Alshon Jeffrey slip away from going on to the NFC Championship last year. Nick Foles is the better quarterback. Sorry, guys. I don't know how to tell you this. Everyone loves results, and Eli has results because he got those 2 Super Bowl rings. But pound for pound, give me Nick Foles over Eli Manning in any single game. If you told me I need to win one game or I need to win in season, who would I rather have? It's Nick Foles. And I don't love Nick Foles. I don't think Nick Foles is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game of football. I just hate Eli Manning.
I can tell. Kenny, yes, if you buy a T-shirt, I will wear that tiny sombrero next episode. No doubt about it. Cody says not amazing, but amazing front 7 pass rush. That's it.
That's all you need. Ask Jim Schwartz.
I agree, though. I agree.
Except this year with the
I agree
Eagles.
with Michael Strahan and a young Justin
Tuck,
Tuck.
Kiwanuka.
And I think even JPP was there for one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was the second one. Yeah,
dude, absolutely. Cody,
Studs.
you are right on there.
Studs.
Probably, maybe. I'm gonna go out there on a limb here. Maybe top 10 best defensive linemen at pass rushing.
First one
ever, all time.
Right. Well, Strahan has the sack record still for single sacks in a season. He still does. Yeah, for sacks in a single season.
Not that year though.
Not that year. But again, still an amazing player going into the playoffs with him for the first one. He wasn't there for the second one. That was Tuck, Kiwanuka, and JPP, like we talked about.
Yeah.
So again, amazing defense still. They were absolutely fantastic. I got to give him. I'm still going Nick Foles. You guys can disagree. That's okay. That's why we talk sports. But you're wrong. I just want you to go to sleep knowing that you're wrong.
Hey guys,
thinking
I
that Eli Manning
appreciate you
is
sticking
better.
around for that. That was definitely, you could tell why we have decided that we must have a show, because we have so much passion and literally the nonsense. We appreciate you guys being part of every bit of it. It means the world to us. Dude,
I won't dwell. Let me do this real quick, and then we'll get out of here. LeBron, pro-China, anti-democracy.
We got to get to Thursday Night
is
Football.
trash. I know, and I'll make this really quick. Worst take out of any sports player I've probably heard in my entire life. Him coming out in support of Chinese authoritarian rule versus because it can make him money on movies like Space Jam, and because he has a lot of sweatshops that make his shoes for Nike out there in China. Trash tier human being, regardless of how good, whether you like him on the NBA court or not. We don't
Taco
go politics.
Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't worry about all those people dying in sweatshops. Taco Tuesday, people.
Taco Tuesday.
I'm not going to go into it. If you want all that, everyone in the media is talking about it. And let me just say we don't agree with it. Or at least I don't agree with it. I won't put words in your mouth, Drew, but we're both pretty pro-democracy, pretty anti-
I ain't gonna lie.
communism.
You guys. I literally saw something go on my phone that said LeBron said this, and I literally swiped it off to the right, and I completely ignored it, because if you guys know me through this show or know me in personal life, I could literally care less what millionaires say or do with their personal lives. Shut up, play the game that I love, and just play it.
Well, hold on.
Shut up.
He got pissed about that. If you remember, it was one of the Fox News hosts that said, "Shut up and dribble. Just play the game instead of weighing in on politics."
See you, Kevin, man. It's great to see you. If you're leaving.
Now he's talking about Worley, who has a degree from Northwestern, an MBA from MIT, saying he's uneducated talking about this subject. Not bad for a guy who has a high school diploma from Ohio. And let me just say, as an Ohioan, we're pretty dumb. I think you've seen that. I took Nick Foles over Eli Manning. Pretty retarded. Look, I'll say this. LeBron, absolutely wrong for that, but he's trying to defend his paycheck. It's terrible. I think the NBA is a bunch of sellouts. For all these guys that want to come out and criticize everything that goes on in America, to kind of turn a blind eye to what China does. They have 1 million people sitting in a concentration camp because they're Muslim right now, regardless of where you fall in that spectrum. People in a concentration camp, not exactly a plus from us at Sports Around the Bar. I think there's a big black eye for the NBA. But we won't dwell on it, right? We don't do politics. So I apologize for harshing your mellow. That one's on me. I had to talk about it, Drew.
Tacos are very important to us. Just to let you guys know.
Favorite taco truck, the one closest.
I live my life on tacos. We are going to move forward. Let's talk about Thursday night
they're
football.
not trading Braun.
Let's talk about Thursday night football. The Kansas City Chiefs go on the road to play at Mile High, one of the toughest stadiums to play in.
Now we know why you're in a hurry to talk about it.
One of the toughest places to play in. There's no doubt about it. This is a tough scenario. I've been to many games in Mile High. The crowd is tough. It's loud. It's hard to breathe. And it's cold. I still have my Kansas City Chiefs winning this game. I think this is a bounce-back game for them. I believe that Watkins will hopefully play, and Hill will play a majority of the offensive snaps. You will probably see anywhere from a 10 to 14 win game. I know I've been pretty down on my Kansas City Chiefs. I've kind of questioned if I'd pick them or not. But this week, I fully believe that they have the Denver Broncos number. I know this is the 4th-ranked best defense, but this is the 4th-ranked best offense. You are going to see it break, because Kansas City knows how to play against those top-rated defenses.
Denver had 5 sacks going into the game with the Titans, and now they have like 12 or 13. 13, if I can do math. Again, I think I look at this game, I'm still going Chiefs. I know the Chiefs have struggled here a little bit with great teams playing against them at home, or a great team in last week's win against the Houston Texans, and a less great team in Indianapolis that they lost because they got out-muscled. I think when you look at the Chiefs, I don't see Denver really out-muscling. I just don't do it. I know they have a running game. I know they're going to try to emphasize that a little bit against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs have given up a lot of yards. I still think this is a higher scoring affair. I'm going to go like 28-26. I think the Broncos keep this one close. They'll run the ball a little bit. We'll see the Chiefs give up a lot of yards, and everyone will talk about how broken this defense is, but they'll take the ball away once or twice. Joe Flacco didn't look good against the Titans. He won't look good against the Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs will do enough offensively to get it done regardless of who's out there. Maybe Tyreek Hill sits this game. Maybe Sammy Watkins doesn't play. As long as Mahomes is out there, I think they'll be okay against the Broncos.
Let me get a couple of these comments real quick. Kenny says, Mahomes has Hill, no duh. Ian says, still going Kansas City, but he's been wrong before. Cameron says, Patrick Mahomes, first week on his fantasy team, he's going to put up 30-plus points.
if you swung a trade because he had a couple down weeks, you're a genius.
You're
well played.
You're welcome, Cameron. Sean says
he got him
LeBron
from you?
James. No.
Yeah, Drew doesn't trade Patrick Mahomes.
No, we talked about it. He says, is it worth a trade? I said, yeah. LeBron, Sean says LeBron needs to go to Brooklyn. What do we think?
Kyrie, and Kevin Durant.
Not going to happen.
Ship it. If they get a way to get it done, it's the Golden State Warriors all over again, and basketball won't be worth watching until the finals when Golden State goes on to match up Brooklyn. I think I'm with Drew. It won't happen.
Not going to happen, John.
I think he'd like to go out there. He'd like to win a championship on the back of Durant and Kyrie again.
Yeah, no doubt. Cody says, is the Kansas City offense is trying for too many big plays instead of letting the offense flow naturally? I agree, man, but I think you're going to see a little bit of a change. But you got to understand that that's what their bread and butter is. It's on Mahomes' arm. There's no doubt about it.
I'm going to disagree a little bit, Cody. Yes, sometimes it gets a little out of hand, but I think that's what sets up a lot of the underneath stuff is Tyreek Hill stretching everybody out for most of the game, where he's running deep a lot, and that's going to. And Sammy Watkins, they have a lot of other deep down the field receivers as well. I think that deep ball and that deep play lets all the stuff like the Sean McCoy is doing underneath succeed. The reason he wasn't succeeding in Buffalo is because they couldn't stretch the field. The reason he is succeeding in Kansas City while he's older and still in the same situation where he has a lot of injury problems is because there's so much room underneath. That happens because of the deep ball play. I still think it's Kansas City's bread and butter, like you said. I don't see it as a problem. Even when it doesn't work down the field, it sets up everything else up short.
Steven, at no surprise here, he says Denver in the upset, 20-17.
Props to you for sticking around the whole way, Steven. Thank you for that.
Very rare weeks he's going to go on the donkey bandwagon. It's the only week that he does it is because when they play Kansas City. He didn't put that, but I'm going to add that in there. Steve says going to be a very close one. Either way, Cameron wants to know, Jared Goff or Aaron Jones for Patrick Mahomes.
That's what he pulled off.
Yes. Did win that trade, Jake?
High five to you. Yeah, you absolutely won it. I mean, did you see Aaron Jones on Monday night versus Jamal Williams? Jamal Williams looked like the better player. And that's just because Aaron Jones seems to have a mentality issue. I think he's better than Jamal Williams, but he can't seem to close the deal to win that starting job where they want to give him the ball 70% of the time. So until he gets that, trading Aaron Jones is absolutely fine. Jared Goff has struggled all season long. You bring in the best fantasy quarterback in football. This is absolutely a great trade for you. I love it. As long as you have the running back support to give up Aaron Jones, great job.
Kenny says he would play Mahomes or Watson, not that he has them.
Exactly. If you got him, you start him every week.
Bees, good to see you, man. Unfortunately, you're coming at the very end of this episode. Trust me, man, we talked immensely about Jalen Ramsey going to the Rams. It's huge.
Jacksonville gets an A.
He wants to know
Rams
what
get
the grade is.
B- because it's still a great player, but it's an awful high price to pay. You're still getting a 24-year-old stud at cornerback, which doesn't happen. Usually it takes those guys a couple years to develop. Usually they're 27 or 28. They dominate for a couple of years, and then they just fall off a cliff. So props to the Rams if you get old Jalen Ramsey back.
All right, let me move on real quickly, and we're going to end this show. Ray says, Eagles with the win, and Ian says, sounds like someone wants you, Drew. Yes, my daughter needs me. Guys, that's why I'm going to end this show. Thank you so much for all the likes, comments, and shares. It was an overwhelming show. We appreciate everything you guys do. The comments were flying in. We were trying to keep up. I hope I didn't miss anybody, but if I did, I apologize. Now I am very sorry, but let me throw this out here. James, Stephen, Ian, Cody, Will, Chris, Bo, Vinny, Michael, Jeff, Ken, Tyler, Cameron, Austin, Eddie, JP, Justin, Luke, Kenny, Thomas, Brian, Jonathan, Alan, Ray, George, Kevin, Terry, Chris, Jacob, Sean, David, and Bees. That is so amazing. You guys are so awesome. I wish that this list was the whole entire page. Thank you so much again for everything you guys do.
Cody, we're actually back tomorrow and then Friday again to talk NFL. Tomorrow is our college football show on Wednesday. We hope to see you then. Well, same time, 6:45 Central, 7:45 Eastern. Thank you, Kenny. It was a great show. Sean, we will see you next time. John says he will see you in the morning, you old biddy. And Bees says that he thinks the Rams got hosed. My final thoughts before I press the turn off button is it's a lot to give up. But what happens if you get old school Jalen Ramsey, where's the top 2 corner in the league? Is it worth it at that point?
Do you misread you sexy stud as old biddy?
Well, it says biddy right there.
But he meant you sexy stud.
He corrected it. Story correction. Jalen Ramsey.
Autocorrect
if he's top 3, is this trade worth it?
if he is top 3. What do you mean if he is?
If he returns to top 3 play, because he hasn't been playing at that level for the past year and a half.
I'm sorry.
And goodbye.
Hold on. How in the world can you say, okay, so you got a team that's struggling, you got a defense that constantly is playing.
Sure.
And you're going to sit there and say that he is no longer talented? No. He's not giving up.
Did I say he's no longer talented? No, but he's not playing as well as he was. And guess what? They've been struggling, Drew. They've been struggling. Except maybe for like 5 minutes with Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns. Yeah, they've been struggling.
That first couple of $1 million had burned out, and the guy's like, hey, not only do I want to be a millionaire, I want to win as well. And when they don't start winning, I don't blame the guy. Do I think it's right? No. But, no.
But you don't blame him.
It's
not right, but you don't blame him.
I don't blame. Yeah.
Pick an aisle here, Drew.
Well,
is he right or is he wrong?
Someone gave me $1 million to burn down my work, I'm going to do it. Is it right? No, but I got $1 million.
I'm going to do it. Okay, fair enough. All right, my final thoughts. Again, if you get top 3 Jalen Ramsey like we've seen, great deal. Or not a great deal, but worthy price.
Yeah.
If you don't, oh man, this is tough. We'll be back on Wednesday, tomorrow, to talk about college football. I assume Hannah will be here to talk about how Georgia blew it and how Alabama is going to rule the SEC forever, or so it would seem, as well as everything else going on in college football. So for Sports Around the Bar, I'm Jake. This is Drew. Long show, great show. Thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you tomorrow.
Kenny, thank you for the comment. See ya.